He is a 28-year-old man, who is a salaryman that does only work, sleep, work, sleep. He even gave away his life saving to his relatives, since he doesn't have a family to spend with. But his boring life cycle has ended a week ago, since he now got a girlfriend. After coming home she says he is late, and she goes on by telling him to eat since she made dinner. Afterwards sometimes he wakes up in the middle of the night, only to see her staring at him, and after seeing her, he asked if she is hungry, to which she kisses him by saying she is not hungry and tells him to go back to sleep. Afterwards he was thinking maybe she doesn't have a needs to sleep at all. Afterwards he was out drinking with his junior workers. Upon returning she tells him that he reeks of alcohol, and she got angry and tells him he also smells like women, to which he says that it was his co-workers. Afterwards he was at the convenience store, and was buying a snake, and after returning he looks at her thinking she doesn't really eat her food that much, and he hugs her from behind, to which she replies with, "Save it for later, I'm making dinner." But he gave her that snack he bought before, and after a while she was eating it while cooking the food. Afterwards there was sound coming from the kitchen, and then he opened the door, but after seeing him she asked if he had woken up because of the sound. Afterwards he realizes that she is searching for dried crickets, and he tells her that it's on top of the shelf, and asks her to take the choco powder. Afterwards both was having a chocolate milk in their hands, but he thinks she doesn't drink the chocolate milk, rather she just holds it in her hands, until they finish watching the show. Afterwards they were fishing in the riverbank, and he caught a fish, to which she tells him not to stand close near the water. Afterwards he says that he got an average size fish. Since she ate all the fish bait he had, he couldn't able to catch a big fish, and time back he was standing on the bridge, while thinking that it was his third time here. Afterwards he decides not to jump since he was being a little coward, but to his surprise he slips and falls in the water, and inside the water he finds his girlfriend for the first time, and after coming outside he asks her on who is she, to which she just tells him to leave, while standing there like a monster. Afterwards he gifts her his coat as thanks, and tells her it's kind of cold out here, and at the next day she showed up to his apartment. Afterwards, while going to the work, he was worrying since he and his girlfriend got in an argument. Afterwards he returns home while she is sitting in the table and tells him to eat, and she goes on by saying that she can't believe that he was into forearms combo, and suddenly he just tells her that he will eat the food. Afterwards he got a fever, and while lying in the bed he tells her bring him the medicine, since he have work. But she just tells him that she already made a call to his company, and then she hugs him, and suddenly he tells her that he feels cold, and wants her to bring him a pen to write his will, but she just shuts him since it's only a fever. Afterwards she turns like a monster, and after seeing that he feels comfortable, and then at the next morning he asks her on why he is covered with some white substance, to which she just tells him to not worry about it. Afterwards both were sitting in the table while he was thinking about that his girlfriend never sleeps or naps, but when the winter arrives, she just sleeps, and after seeing her he gives her a blanket while thinking she does need sleep after all. Afterwards she complains about him buying her sweet potato, since she can just make them at home, but he was just thinking that eating sweet potato when snowing is great, and all of a sudden a small girl bumps into her, as a result of her losing her sweet potato, and she asks sorry. Afterwards she gave the little half of her sweet potato, and after seeing that he asks if he wants to swap their sweet potato. Afterwards, while correcting her scarf, he asks her if she is still thinking about that kid, and then he goes on by asking her on how about they have their own kid. And then she suddenly grabs his hands and starts to cry. Afterwards he asks her on what happened, to which she just explains as that she is a monster and different from him, and she goes on by asking him that if he wants their kids to look like her. Afterwards, while rubbing her tears, he says that he wants the kids to be kind like her, and he goes on by saying that she is not a monster and he loves her in who she is, and he hugs her by saying that to not repeat this ever again, and also he tells her to watch where she is touching. Afterwards, he looks up on the internet that black widow spiders eat the male right after they finish mating, and he was just staring at the screen after sleeping with her, and then she suddenly turns and says that he is not a spider, so it's fine. Afterwards, while cutting the vegetables, he cuts his fingers and she asks him on what happened, to which he just says it was a normal cut, but then she suddenly licks his finger. After licking it, she tells him to not lick it or either wash it. Afterwards, both of them were watching movie, and after watching the movie, he tells her that he likes the villain, and while they were talking, a random thief asks him to give his valuables to him, but thief then suddenly tries to stab him, but he grabs the thief's hand by saying sorry to him, and then he spins and throws him at the ground. Afterwards, while walking, she asks him that she was surprised since he could move like that, to which he just explains it as they were in danger since a knife was being pointed at him. Afterwards, at the work, his friend asks him on what is his weekend plans, to which he tells him that something just randomly happened, and he even had bandages on his neck, but he thinks that he asked her parents to meet him today. After returning, she just tells him that it's a bad idea, since her parents are hard to talk with. After reaching to his house, he realizes it was a bad idea, since her mother was at her house, and then she grabs him by his cheeks and says he can do some shaving, but overall he is a good-looking boy. Afterwards, she tells him that she's not going to turn into something, since he was just staring at her. Afterwards, her mother leaves soon since she got some appointments, and she tells him that since her daughter chose him, so he better keep her safe. And then she tells him to give her at least 2 grandchildren before she passes away. And after opening the door, her dad asks her mother if their daughter is going to be fine with him, to which she says yes. After they left, he tells her that he was nervous, and he goes on by telling her that her mother looks hot, and after saying that, she just looks at him and says nothing. Afterwards, he just finished shaving and asks her that the soap he bought for her is full, to which she just says that she doesn't take shower. But after hearing, he quickly turns and makes her to bath while scrubbing her head. But then she asks him if he is also going to join her. Afterwards, he brings something by saying there was some offering in the offering table outside, but then it was oysters and pineapple. After a while, she realizes it was from her mother, and then she asks him to not eat those pineapple and oysters. Afterwards, at the work, he was wondering to buy her something, since until now he ever bought her was only food, and which feels like buy treats to a cat. Afterwards, while walking down the street, he was wondering on what to buy as a gift, and then he stumbles upon a flower shop, and the shopkeeper asks him that if he is here to buy flowers to someone, since she knows him. Afterwards, she tells that it's been a month since she started to work here, but he just asks her to give him a bouquet of flowers. Afterwards, she asks him if he wants to hang out with her like he did in the old times. But then he just leaves by saying he is busy and says he doesn't want to hang out. And after reaching home, he gives the flowers, but she just started eating it. Afterwards, at the night, the flowers girl was sleeping in her room, and then suddenly she stands behind her by saying that her scent was easy to find, which shocked her. Afterwards, with a fear in her eyes, she asks on what she wants, to which she says her to stay away from her man. But after hearing that, she started to say a lots of names. But after hearing her husband's name, she warns her and tells her it was a scent of him. Afterwards, she asks her on what she did to her husband, and also says that she can see through the lies. Afterwards, at the flashback, he already told her on what happened with his ex, which was her cheating on him for another guy. Afterwards, the ex-girlfriend started to cry by saying she doesn't know anything, but then the wife asks her to show her ring finger. Afterwards, she injects her blood into her by saying that if she ever try to cheat on her new husband, this blood will block her heart, as the result of killing her. Afterwards, she tells her that this effect will wear off if she cuts of her finger. Afterwards, a while when returned from work, he says that his ex-girlfriend apologized to him, and he goes on by saying that she must have felt regret when he had seen her before, but his wife just says it must have been. Afterwards she asks him that she wants to comb his hair and tells him to knee down. Afterwards she started to comb his hair while sitting on him, and then he asks her on how he looks, but after seeing him, she decides to re-comb his hair. Afterwards they are doing shopping. When he was about to pay the money, his wife brings him a plushie, and after seeing that he decides to buy that plushie too, and afterwards at the night he already started to regret his decision. Way back into the story, someone was stitching a doll, and then a spider girl tries to eat the insect, and someone calls her, which was her mother. Afterwards she received the plushie and says she loves it. Afterwards her mother asks her if she likes the doll, to which she says she does. Afterwards she sleeps with that doll. Afterwards, while doing her hair, she says she wants her hair to be long like her mother. Afterwards, while sleeping, she asks when she can visit the town, to which she replies with, when she can change her form seamlessly she can visit humans' towns. After that she asks her mother if the humans hate them, to which she says that they are different from. That's why. Afterwards the daughter says that she saved a human today, but that human called her a monster and dropped some money and ran away. After hearing, her mother starts to lecture her, but then she tells her that the human was about to drown, and all of a sudden a huge crowd comes and starts to burn everything. After that they started to run. Afterwards the mother tells her to run away as long as possible, and while she was running she says she will catch up later, and the mother starts to protect her. Afterwards, while being fully damaged and was about to die, she tells her to live, while the daughter was crying.